So simply, we saw in the video that those images say of the overcrowding that was talked about. Um, can you tell us a little bit more though about when there's that overcrowding, what do young people do to be able to avoid the stress that can cause young people?
Being in such a community, young people they resort to other means of ignoring the conditions they are actually in, that they resort to drugs and alcohol, and young girls also resort to prostitution. They also engage.
Prostitution by the overcrowding, or it copes because it brings money.
It brings money. It's like a way for them to get money. It's like a job to them, but it's not a formal job.
So if I'm understanding what you're saying, like, even though these are not behaviors we want to promote, doing drugs, prostitution, what you're saying is sometimes these are the only ways that people can cope when there's so few other opportunities.
No, there are other ways. People can, nowadays they have things like the internet. They have books where people can get more knowledge about how to conduct themselves, how to think differently and see things in a different view.
Okay.
Is that what you and some of your friends would do to cope better with the overcrowding?
Yes, I personally exercise. I read quite a lot. There are books I read and follow. I want to equip myself with the more knowledge I can get to better myself, to better the conditions for myself and maybe for the people around me also.
That's really interesting. What makes the difference, do you think, when a young person like yourself chooses to exercise, to read, to be online, versus drugs and other things? What do you think? What makes the difference for a young person to go that direction to cope with the overcrowding versus this direction to cope with the overcrowding?
I would say it's the role of the family.
The family.
Yes. In my case, my upbringing and the way my parents tried to show life to me, it disciplined me in the way that I choose my habits, I choose my surroundings, and other parents they're like, no, it's fine, they'll see for themselves, and the same thing happens over and over again.
So your parents not only they coached you, they modeled for you, they told you.
How do they teach you?
Yeah. What would they have done if I was watching you in your house? What would I have actually seen them either saying or doing with you?
Okay, I'll share about my grandfather. My grandfather has supported me quite a lot in everything I do academically, and he's the one who has instilled this thing in me that I should strive for more, I should strive to achieve. He sat down with me, he spoke with me, and I've also had practical lessons, like when I failed my grade 10, I told him I failed, and he said, go fail again. And
so go back, don't give up.
So it became like a principle or way for me that no matter how many times I fail, I can still strive and fight for a better life and better outcomes. So that's what happened in me. That's what's driving me to follow reading, exercising, and things like that. So,
what told you to do?
No, he didn't personally tell me that you should do this, but then he, in a way, created something that he said something that triggers the inside, the true me, the character inside of me, that I should strive for more, regardless of how many times I fail. He did. He worked as a chef at the petrochemical industry, and he got himself injured at work, and he couldn't report it at the time because of the apartheid era. He would have lost his job, but his hand couldn't function properly, so he couldn't cook very well. So even though he failed to continue working for the petrochemical industry, but he found other ways, other means to provide for us. He bought a bakkie with the money he got from the petrochemical industry after he lost his job. He bought a bakkie, he started taking young school kids to school with the bakkie, they would pay him. So even though being a chef, he failed becoming a chef for a long time, but he still strived again, found another job and found another way.
And you grew up with that story. So
Yes.
that was a story that you would have heard from him.
I've heard and I've experienced it, I've seen it.
You were living there then?
Yes, I was living with him and I could see everything. And he also took me to school with those kids, so I was part of that also.
He also sent the message to you that he was driving children.
He drove kids to school, and yes, he told me about education. He told me that the importance of education. It was quite very useful to me. Even though he never had enough education, he never had the education we have nowadays for learning international languages and other things, but he always wanted me to have a better education. It started with my parents. He wanted my mother to have a better education, which he didn't have, and he wanted more for me. He wanted me to go where he couldn't go further. He wanted me to take everything and go further and educate myself, become a better person.
Even in a context of overcrowding, this idea of a family inspiring, supporting, modeling, this is what maybe helps a young person rather than moving towards drugs to cope, but maybe they move more towards exercise and education, these kinds of things.
No, I believe that even though the family has a role to play, but I believe self-discipline has a bigger role to play, because even though you can hear supportive words from the families, they can be very supportive, but if you are not self-disciplined, you are prone to do anything at any time. But if you discipline yourself, you channel your mind to certain things. And that's how I believe I'm peculiar from the other guys.
So it sounds to me like it's both. It sounds like it's your family
And
that plants the seed, and it's you who makes the seed grow. So it's both the family and the individual. And that's what makes the difference between you coping as well as you do and some kids who cope less well.
It's true. You're summarizing it very well, yes. Because you can tell me about discipline, but I can initiate discipline in myself. And I believe that's how it goes.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure.
Hi. So what you would have just seen is moving from a piece of data like a video to a more detailed conversation. And if you notice, it was starting where he started. He went in one direction, which is fine. We then brought in some theory, some sensitizing concepts into the interview. We said, that's interesting. He's gone one way. We're going to see if we can also look for the negative case example or another kind of case example. So we talked about something positive. But if you notice, the questions were focused on processes. What got him there?
Not the what.
Not the what was he doing, but the process. And then he started talking about his family. And if you notice, the questions from both of us was, describe it. We didn't let him stay up at, not name it. And we got him down to descriptions of actual events. And if you see, it's much easier for him to describe those events. His grandfather doing that, buying the Becky, transporting the children, inspiring education. It begins to the story gets really thickly described through him.
It becomes real. The abstract became concrete.
If you just ask these broader questions, you'll stay up at the level, family inspires me. And it wasn't until actually, it's funny, in the summation, he did something very surprising at the end. I thought clearly, and this is good for me because those of you who know my work, I'm kind of more focused on the family stuff. And at the end, he said, no, you don't, I'm correcting you. Because it's both. It's the internal stuff. And then Linda did that beautiful summation of, it's like grandfather planted the seed, he helped grow it. And then he said, yes, now you're understanding what I'm saying. And from a data point of view, that has so much analysis potential. Now if you could reproduce that with 20 youth and you see that same pattern, then you have something that is actually, like, we can actually inform policy. We can think about, do you introduce self-regulation into the schools, but also do you also work with families? Think about the implications of getting the voices of young people like what we just did. It starts with the video, inspire the conversation, and then the conversation got deeper.
And the conversation then gave us insight into something that was very contextual. So if you're from South Africa or from Africa, you'll know that family is not just a biological parent. So in addition to getting the rich detail, we now understand that there are contextualized aspects to his story that would be important for policymakers in Africa, and likely different in North America.
And you also get to know what a Becky is, which I now know is
Baki.
a Baki. See, I can't even get it right. I hope this was helpful. Watching the two. Send us your questions. So we'll talk to you soon.